Thanks again, everybody, for joining us for Thinking Thursdays. Our next talk is going to be about what is reality anyway. For those of you who missed our first talk, Are We Living in a Simulation? You can check that out on YouTube. I can also send you the link if you text me. We also did another talk too on Is God an AI, a superintelligent AI. So part of what we talked about before is, are we living in a video game? Is life just a dream? Are we hallucinating everything that we think we see and experience? Are we living in some kind of weird dimension that we can't even perceive of? What is reality anyway? So how do we actually start to even think about this question? I'm sure some of you have in the past, but I think it's a question worth pursuing because it kind of defines everything else in your life. This is probably the most important question we could ask ourselves. So, in the past, a lot of philosophers asked similar questions. One story, I believe it was by Plato, he described basically this story where there's these two men and they're living in a cave, and their whole life has been lived in this cave. And every occurrence they've seen has been shadows cast on the wall of people passing by. So people that were passing by the cave, the light would shine through and they would see the silhouette on the wall. And since they never stepped outside of the cave or even had an idea that there was anything outside the cave, they thought that reality was the wall. So how often do we live this way? How often do we believe that what's going on the TV is real, or that politics, everything that politics say is true? The things that we get taught in school, how do we know that they're actually true, and are they actually true? These are very, very interesting things to think about, and also very important. So thinking can be the difference between being rich or being very poor. In Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he makes that distinction. He says, if you want to become something, first you need to think. Part of thinking, I would say, also is learning. You need to think and learn, and then you will grow rich. Perhaps with money, perhaps with other things. There's more than just one type of richness. It could be the difference between living a life where you're happy or living a life and you're sad. Everything we experience, part of that experience is our thoughts. There's another really good book called As a Man Thinketh that goes on to follow with As a Man Thinketh, So He Becomes. So, as I've mentioned before, thinking is perhaps the most important thing we could do. We should be introspective. We should question the world around us, because it's only by doing that honestly that we can ascertain any sort of truth. And with living truth, then you can know that you're making the right decisions in life, and that you're working towards a favorable outcome for you and everyone you know and love for the future. So there's a lot of trippy ideas on, what is reality? Is it just happening in our minds? Is it happening out there somewhere? Is it imperceptible to us? Are we physical beings having a spiritual experience? Are we spiritual beings having a physical experience? They're very, very powerful questions. So the good news is you have the power to determine your thoughts. You have the power to determine where you want to go in life. Think of your thoughts, think of your mind as a sail. If you cast that sail out, your thoughts are the rudder. It doesn't take much to tilt it one degree or the other, but it'll get you in completely different destinations. But before you can do that, you need to think. You need to plan out, where do I want to go? And you need to be very careful of what you think about. So with knowing that our thoughts are the story of our life. You can literally write the story of your life based on your thoughts. So if you have positive thoughts, you will write a positive story about yourself. If you have introspective thoughts, you'll have an introspective life. If you have negative thoughts, same thing. What we think about is what we attract. There's a very good saying by Tony Robbins, where attention goes, energy flows. So your life is a blank canvas. Even today, every day you wake up, it's a blank canvas. What will you do with today? What will you create? What will you do for others? Will you be an inspiring person? Will you be an adventurous person? What do you want to be? Think at the end of your life, what do you want to be known for? That's your legacy. This isn't a game, it's your life. What do you want it to stand for? There's a really good story that I like. It's a Native American story, and it's the story of the two wolves. So in the story, there's a boy with a very old elder of the tribe. It's his grandpa. And he asks the grandpa, "Grandpa, what should I do with my life?" And the elder smiles at him and he says, "Son, there's a war going on within you." And he says, "Really?" "Yes, there's a war between two wolves. There's a good wolf and there's a bad wolf." And the boy stops and he stares and he says, "Well, which one wins?" The wise old man says, "Whichever one you feed." The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Buddha. Do you want to create? Do you want to support life? Or will you be of the other camp, which aims to destroy? That's a question you should ask yourself every day, and your actions should flow through from that. Your mind is your instrument. Learn to be its master, not its slave. How often do we get trapped in negative thought patterns? How often do we give it power? Didn't you know that you have the power to change your thoughts? Didn't you know that you have the power to change your destiny? Remember, your mind is a tool. Don't let it control you. Control it. With that said, I'd like to offer you guys a 30-day thinking challenge. This is totally for free. This is totally if you want to do it, but I would highly recommend it because it's something that changed my life for the better. I actually used to be super depressed, and I used to always give power to all the negative thoughts until one day I actually discovered something called the law of attraction. And I would highly recommend you guys look into that. But basically, the premise is what you think about, you attract more of. So with this thinking challenge, if you ever notice that you have a negative thought, catch it first. Catch it and then think of a positive thought on purpose. Break that pattern. So say somebody cuts you off in traffic. Instantly decide, I'm going to change the way I'm thinking right now. And then start thinking of something that you like, whether it's whatever it may be, whether it's a good book that you read, whether it's the beautiful sky, whether it's a fun adventure that you had today. Find a way to break that pattern. Or you could also say, try to find in that moment the positive of something. Find something positive within your environment and focus on that because you'll attract more of that. Another good practice to do is in the morning, as soon as you wake up, let your first thought be, what am I grateful for? That seriously, it makes such a difference because it sets the tone for the rest of your day. Remember, whether you are angry or you're happy or you laugh about something, that's totally within your power. I actually had a pretty cool adventure today, and I was telling some of you about it. I was going down this trail and somebody ahead of me basically slipped and they fell on their butt. And I went over to them and I said, "Hey, are you okay?" And he just started laughing. And I thought, interesting, why is he laughing? And he basically told me his whole life story about how he used to be in so much legal trouble and all these things, and now he just wanders around and lives on the beach and just has the time of his life. He's so free. But what I thought was the most interesting about this guy is that his instant response to something that most would perceive as something bad was just to laugh at himself, to laugh at life, to laugh at everything, because everything's a paradox. Everything is funny, and the more divine something is, the funnier it is. Life is full of paradoxes. We should laugh at them. So, I would highly recommend you guys to try this out, try this positive thinking, and if you have in the past, use it as a chance to renew your, quote, vows to become happier, healthier, and I think it'll change your life. It did for me. So thank you all, and I would like to know your thoughts.